Okay, so here's the first passage. The passage titled Around the World by Paula Morrow. No one but a man can do this, the business manager of The World, a New York newspaper, said to the young women. The year was 1888. A popular book at the time told about a character who would travel around the world in 80 days. Now, Nellie Bly, a young reporter for the newspaper, wanted to do it in real life. So let me summarize the first paragraph. This is about a young woman who is actually very inspired by a person who actually traveled around the world in 80 days. And now she really wanted to be able to do that in the real life too. So this sits in the background that the character, the woman, Nellie Bly, it's a young woman, right? A young woman that she also wanted to take the challenge to write about a trip around the world. So go on to second paragraph. So very well, said Nellie, start the man, and I'll start the same day for some other newspaper and I'm gonna beat him. So in those days, it was very unusual for women to travel alone. But Nellie Bly was an unusual woman. Her real name was Elizabeth Jane Cochrane. When she was 20, she wrote a fiery letter to the editor of the Pittsburgh Dispatch. The editor was so impressed with her letter that he offered her a job as a writer. So let me summarize paragraph 2 and 3. So again, number 2 is about how Nellie wanted to take up the challenge. She said, I will start the same day for some other newspaper and beat him. So again, she really wanted to beat the character that who finished traveling around the world in 80 days. So that's her goal. And then at the time in paragraph 3, it also says that back then, it's very uncommon for a woman to travel alone. Remember in paragraph 1, it actually said that the year was 1888. So back then, the women are limited to do many things. So definitely including traveling. So for Nellie, it's also very challenging task for her to do. But then she's not afraid, okay? She was able to do what she could, and she also was able to get a job by just writing to another newspaper. So paragraph 4. So it wasn't considered proper to use a woman's name in a newspaper. So the editor signed Elizabeth's work Nellie Bly, a name from a popular song. So again, paragraph 4 is trying to tell us that at the time, women were very restricted to do many things, including using a real woman's name in the newspaper. So the paper that she got the job with actually had to make up a name, this name, Nellie Bly, to cover up the fact that she was actually a woman. Okay, so that again, trying to tell us that women back then were not able to do many things, including using your own real name as Elizabeth. So people had to find different ways to cover the fact that she was a woman. Paragraph 5. Back then, women were only supposed to write about things considered to be women's topics, such as fashion and society. But Nellie had other ideas. She reported on issues that were important, even controversial. Newspaper readers were fascinated, but they didn't believe that Nellie Bly was really a woman. They thought men were writing the articles. Here, they're giving you the definition of the word controversial. It's a topic that causes an argument. So again, let me summarize the main idea of paragraph 5. It's again about women at the time were only considered to be a good writer for a topic like about fashion and society. So when Nellie was writing about other important arguments, people wouldn't believe that it was written by the women. So again, this tells us that Nellie was doing something that people don't believe that she was actually a woman. Okay, then go on to paragraph 6. After Nellie threatened to make the trip for another newspaper, her editor gave in and allowed her to do it for the world. 1 year after asking to do the trip, Nellie set out. Traveling east across the Atlantic, Nellie took just one bag in order to move quickly. As she traveled, she wrote. She telegraphed her articles about people and places to the newspaper. School children followed her route across Europe and Asia. Geography became a national fad as readers tracked her around the world. Telegraph means a way to send messages to a faraway place. So again, let me summarize the paragraph 6. This is when Nellie started her trip. So she decided to set out her trip, and then she decided to traveling east across the Atlantic. And that's where she began. And then people actually follow her around the world. So paragraph 7. One day, 68 of her trip, Nellie reached San Francisco. Quickly, she dashed across the country on the train hired by her newspaper. She reached New York in 4.5 days. Wow, she met her challenge. Along the way, every train stop was a maze of happy greetings, happy wishes, congratulating telegrams, fruit, flowers, loud cheers, wild hurrahs, rapid handshaking, she wrote. While traveling through France, Nellie was thrilled to meet Jules Vernon, the author of the book that inspired her trip around the world in 80 days. So let me summarize 7 and 8 here. So Nellie actually finished her trip in 68 days. So compared to the very beginning of the guy that actually inspired her to do this, who actually finished in 80 days. So that actually just proved that Nellie beat this man to finish travel around the world in 80 days. So that actually demonstrates her success. Okay, so paragraph 9. Nellie Bly beat the 80-day goal. She also invented a new style of journalism. She reported to her readers what she saw, thought, and felt during her adventure. She also proved that a woman is as competent and resourceful as a man. Her journey around the world was a journey toward equal opportunity for both men and women. So competent means capable, resourceful means skilled at solving problems. And then they gave you a map, okay? And then the map is trying to show us that where she began, right, the starting point, and then where she finished her trip. And then these are all the countries that she went through. Okay, so that means around the world. So it's in 1888, travel around the world in 72 days. So now, let's take a look at the question, okay? So what does the phrase set out mean as it used in paragraph 6 of the article? So going back to paragraph 6, okay, the phrase set out is right here. And then follow, you're going to see, it means that traveling east across the Atlantic. So set out probably means something about traveling. So we can take a look at the answer choices. Grab her suitcase, begin her journey, accept the work, or started writing. I think that answer choice B, begin her journey, definitely equals to traveling. Okay? So number 14. Read the sentence from paragraph 6. Traveling east across the Atlantic, Nellie took just one bag in order to move quickly. So in order to move quickly means that when you travel light, you will be able to move around much quicker. So what does that mean? A, it shows that how she's the same as the character in the book. It shows one way to help her reach her goal. It shows a young reporter exploring the world in real life. Or it shows that a young woman taking a trip alone is unusual. Remember, it's about moving fast, right? So why does she need to move fast? Remember, she needs to beat the 80-day challenge. So it has to be something about she needs to what? She needs to beat her goal, okay? And then finish the trip faster than 80 days. So the answer choice will be, the correct choice is actually B. Okay, so number 15. How does the author organize the information in paragraphs 6 and 7? So if you will go back to 6 and 7, then you're going to realize that the author actually trying to give us the geography, like the continent right here from Europe to Asia, and then the geography became a national fact, and then people can track her. And also she reached San Francisco, and then she reached New York. So this is really telling us that the locations or the steps or the stops of the country that she in the sequence of completing. So let's take a look at the answer choice. And we're going to find, okay. So by listing the events in the order they happened, sounds about right. Okay, by comparing and contrast the places Nellie visit, the author did not really contrast or telling us what are the similarity between San Francisco or New York, right? Okay, and then it wasn't telling us about any difference between the countries. It was just telling us like the stop that she made. So B cannot be right. C, by showing what caused Nellie to want to take the trip. No, right now we're learning about her trip already, like her stops of the country. By stating how the problem of traveling so far was solved, she wasn't having a problem. She just had a goal to accomplish. So the answer is definitely A, okay? In order of what how they happen by the country of the stops. Okay, so 16. What does the word journalism mean in the paragraph 9? Remember, Nellie always wanted to work as a reporter, so journalism has to be writing for something, okay? So the answer choice is A. She really wanted to work and in the writing for the newspaper. So it's not really about traveling because her interest was not in the travel. Her interest was to tell people what she'd been through, what she went through while she was traveling. So her goal wasn't also finding adventures or not even a discover opinion. So it's definitely writing for the newspaper. Okay, so which detail does the map support? Remember, the map is actually telling us that which country she began and which country she ended, and then how she finished the whole trip in 72 days. So the answer will be she met her challenge. Remember, because the map indicate the start and then to the end. Okay, and then how it shows she traveled around the world, right? In the continent map. So the answer has to be C. Okay, so the last question is, which sentence best state the main idea of around the world? Okay, so it's about a woman who took a challenge and then she accomplished and she also beat the challenge. She finished faster than the guy who actually finished in 80 days. So if you take a look at these answer choices, is it really about traveling around the world in a short period of time is a difficult goal? Well, it's definitely difficult, but it doesn't mention about Nellie. Okay, so it's not, so the subject isn't about traveling. The goal is still about Nellie, a very unusual woman who did a very unusual challenge. So yes, okay, so B, unusual is actually correct, but the main idea is still not about travel, right? It's still about she accomplished a very difficult task. So definitely not C, because the main idea of this passage isn't about geography, learning about the world map. But then it's definitely D, because it's about telling us that how she was able to do things that people wouldn't think that she could do it. Remember, she was not, people thought like she couldn't write about these difficult articles, talking about issues, but then, only with, so if she was a woman, she could only write about fashion. So that wasn't the case. So it was about her able to do something very difficult and then be able to beat the challenge of someone who finished the world in 80 days. So D is definitely the right choice. So here's the end of passage 1. So I'll continue for passage 2.